Good morning, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces here today, so I just want to say thank you for coming out and thank you for the support. I've had a lot of good feedback throughout this entire race, and it's been really welcomed. Obviously, I am somewhat of an outsider, and I'm kind of jumping right up to the congressional level, but the biggest reason I did that was because I wanted to make sure that everybody had an option. So for those that don't know me, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Obviously, my name's Sam Anders. I've been married to my wife, Catherine, who is normally here that I would point out, but she's at home with our children today. We've been married for the last 13 years. We attend Southside Church. We've lived here in Sharpsburg for about almost 10 years now, so Coweta County. What else can I tell you about myself? I work for a company called Sinclair Systems International, and if I'm a little sluggish this morning, I just flew in from Seattle last night. We had to go out there, which is typically not the best thing to do right before a congressional race, but you know, when you make those commitments, you kind of have to fulfill them. So we were out there. So my company, we make all the little labels you see on your fruit in the grocery store, all the ones that you can't get off. So now you'll think of me every time you pull that off. And we have a manufacturing plant here in Peachtree City, and I control all the service engineers from Miami all the way up to New York City. So I've got about 9 guys and 1 individual out in Texas, and that we go out and fix the machinery. On the other side of the house, I'm also a Master Sergeant in the Air Force Reserve, 16 years in now, and I'll do another 16. There's no doubt about that. I think when we look at dedication and when we talk about Constitution, from my perspective, that's one of the biggest things. And for the last 16 years, you know, I've looked at upholding and defending that Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that's the classic say, but I think that's really true because we have to look at the country as a whole, and we have a lot of that right now. It's not just from the outside. We have a lot of things that are coming up on the inside. Big government could quite easily be one of those things. And so military members are not another part of the government, but we're there for you. So we're there to uphold and protect that. I see the Constitution as a core value. In the military, we have core values, and I think the Constitution is our core value for our country. That's one of the big things. So while the mission may change slightly, at the end of the day, that's what we always need to refer back to. What else can I tell you? I'll tell you a little story about myself, and maybe hopefully it'll give you an idea of why I'm here. I was in Seattle last night. We were driving back from a little town called Wenatchee, and we hit a traffic jam. And it was at least an hour delay. So, you know, you pull out your phone, you try and find a reroute, and we jumped off the interstate, and there was this dirt track. And basically, we were going to go up the mountain and down and pop out on the other side, all good to go. We were lucky we had a 4x4, so no big problem. And we're climbing up the mountain, and I guess a lot of people had decided to do this but hadn't really thought about it. And when we hit the top of the mountain as we went from about 600 feet elevation to around 4,000. So it was a pretty steep climb. Gradually, there's more and more snow on the ground. But when we hit the top, there was a young couple, and they were in, I think like an Eddie Bauer or something like that, but they had a U-Haul trailer on the back, and they were stuck. And they had been ground out on the snow, and they were stuck, and there was nowhere to go. Well, there was a couple other people in cars, and before you know it, they had turned around and left. So what are we going to do? So we got out, and we pretty much, with our hands and everything else, we dug them out. We managed to unhook the trailer, got it turned around, came back down the mountain, which was about another 5 miles, got on the interstate, and ended up in Seattle about 11:30. The reason I tell you that story is because it was God's will that we went up the top of the mountain. We could have quite easily sat in traffic just like everybody else and made our way through. But there was a reason we went up that mountain, and the reason being that if we hadn't gone up there, that family would have been stranded up there. Because by the time we had got them turned around and made it back down, it was dark. And this was not somewhere you wanted to be that time of night. There was no cell service up there or anything. And I feel like when I look at this race, it correlates with that kind of reason. I'm here because I feel that there's a duty to serve and protect this country and provide you guys with an option, but there's also that it's God's will. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm here. And when I look every day, while I might be the outsider, it's all about being where He wants me to be. Win or lose, at the end of the day, I just want to be where He wants me to be so that I can provide extra options. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.